Hello everybody, and welcome back to Certified Collectibles. This is another episode of First Appearance of the Week. This is Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. We'll be giving you all the first appearance in your comic shops today. Now this week we have a pretty good video for you guys. I think we have 3 first appearances, 7 honorable mentions, so 10 titles all to go through. Definitely some books in there worth picking up for your collection. So let's go ahead and get started for the first appearance of the week ending October 27th, 2023. First up from DC Comics, Flash number 2. This features the first appearance of the Stillness. Now we say this every week with the DC Comics. When there's a first appearance in a DC comic, these are definitely going to be a little more speculative than, say, the Marvel Disney comics. Just because DC isn't the cinematic and media powerhouse like Marvel Disney is, they just can't bring a lot of these characters into the mainstream and get a lot more eyes on these characters and make them more popular. So in modern comics, DC has had a hard time getting these characters, these new characters, to resonate with fans and become popular, and therefore become more important in the future. Therefore, in these first appearances in these modern DC comics are going to be a little bit more speculative right now. That's not to say that in the future they're not going to be a big deal, but you're really specking on DC doing something important with these characters, making them more important in the future, making them resonate with fans and become more popular. So this one here is going to be a little bit more speculative if you choose to pick it up. Maybe worth doing so for the cover price. So grab it for a spec if you can, otherwise put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Marvel Comics, Amazing Spider-Man number 36. This features the first appearance of the Repossessor. Now we mention this all the time with these Marvel titles. Anytime there's a first appearance in a Marvel title, these are books you do want to pick up and have in your collection. You know, Marvel Disney is still churning out a ton of media, and you really don't know where any of the characters they're introducing in the comics may end up. Also, this is an Amazing Spider-Man title, and like we always mention with these Spider-Man titles, you know, Spider-Man is probably the most popular and most heavily collected of all the franchises for Marvel Comics, and anytime there's a first appearance of a new character, or a new costume, or a new power, these are books you definitely want to have in your collection. So this one here, we definitely think you should pick up and add to your collection. And finally from Marvel Comics, Captain Marvel number 1. This features the first appearance of the Omen, a herald of the undone. This also features the first appearance of Yuna Yang, a thief in possession of the Negabands. Now, Captain Marvel is definitely not one of Marvel Comics' stronger title series, or one of the more popular characters for Marvel Comics. A lot of that has to do with her portrayal in the MCU. But because of that, a lot of people have turned off Captain Marvel that may have been fans before. So any of these first appearances in these Captain Marvel titles are definitely going to be a little bit more speculative. If Marvel's introducing characters into the Captain Marvel title series, they would definitely have to bring these characters into other title series to get more eyes on them, make them more popular, make them resonate with fans. So this one here is going to be a little more speculative. Like we always say though, it's probably worth picking up the first appearance in Marvel titles. You know, for $3 or $4, you could be sitting on a huge winner here if this goes somewhere. If it goes nowhere, you're out $3 or $4. Like we always say, the risk is probably worth the reward on this. Grab this one here for a spec if you can. Otherwise, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. And now for the honorable mentions. From Image Comics, Universal Monsters Dracula number 1. Now this is a 4-issue limited series written by James Tynion. Now, the reason we put this on the list is because it is written by James Tynion, and he has a huge fan base, huge following, and this Universal Monsters title series here, this one here may be big. You know, James Tynion has a lot of his titles picked up and optioned for small screen, big screen projects, and this here, Dracula number 1, who knows? This could be the next big thing. If this does get picked up and made into a TV show, streaming series, or feature film, you do want to own this particular issue. So this one here is definitely going to be a little more speculative if you choose to pick it up. But in our opinion, this here is a great spec bet. Grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, though, put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Dark Horse, Drive Like Hell number 1. A criminal's girlfriend is killed while on the run after one last job, but she didn't stay dead, which sends the couple into a battle of otherworldly proportions. Now, like we always say with these small press and indie publishers, if these titles get picked up and optioned for small screen, big screen projects, these become a huge deal. People race back and try to find these first appearances and these premiere issues. And Dark Horse has had a lot of their titles picked up and optioned in the past. This one here does sound like it lends itself very well to a small screen, big screen project. So once again, we do think this is a great spec bet. So grab it if you can for a spec. Otherwise, put it on your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. Next up from Image Comics, Edenwood number 1. An eons-long series of multiverse wars between demons and witches has found Earth as its latest and final battleground. Now once again, this sounds like it lends itself very well to a TV show, streaming series, or feature film, and Image Comics has a lot of their titles picked up and optioned in the past. So this one here is going to be a spec bet. You are specking on this getting picked up and optioned, and this title getting a lot more eyes on it, and people racing back to the comic to try to get this premiere issue. So this one here is definitely going to be speculative if you choose to pick it up, but in our opinion, this is another good spec bet. Grab it if you can. If you can't, then put it on your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Distillery, Gone number 1. Attempting to escape a life of poverty and slave labor, a 13-year-old girl stows away on a colossal luxury space liner for a chance at a better life. But after she is betrayed by her friends, she must evade the ship's deadly crew to stay alive. Now this one here sounds like it'll lend itself very well to a small screen, big screen project. Distillery hasn't really had a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past, so this one here may be more speculative than some of the other titles we just mentioned. Like we said before, some of these small press and indie publishers don't really have a track record of getting into Hollywood with their stories. You know, these are definitely going to be a little more speculative, but because these are small press and indie publishers, a lot of big retailers don't carry them, and especially if they're really small publishers, a lot of retailers will not pick these up, so they're definitely going to be undersold when they first come out. So if these stories do get picked up and go somewhere, there's not going to be a lot of them out there, so that does prime these for a big price jump in the future if this actually goes somewhere. But this one here may be a good spec bet, so grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, then put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. Next up from Scout Comics, Howie the Hellhound #1. A hellhound named Howie escapes the pits of hell and settles down with a human in New York City. But when hell's forces race to take back what's theirs, the pair must find a way to come out the other side and earn the fresh start at life that they both crave. Now, Scout Comics has had a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past, and they do have an inroad to Hollywood, so it seems like there's always a lot of attention on their titles. And this story here does sound like it lends itself very well to a small screen, big screen project. So once again, this does sound like a good spec bet to us. Grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, then put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. Next up from Image Comics, Paladin of Axes #1. The world's biggest rock band and their guitar tech are killed in a plane crash, which is unexpectedly just the beginning of their bad times. Now once again, Image Comics has had a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past, and this one here sounds like it lends itself very well to the screen. Now this one here will be a little bit more speculative, but once again, in our opinion, some of these small press and indie publishers, the risk is worth the reward on these. For $3 or $4, you could be sitting on a huge winner here. So grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, though, put it in your B-list and take a look at it later on. And finally from Boom Comics, Slow Burn #1. Fleeing a botched robbery in New York City, a group of criminals find refuge in a coal mining ghost town that seems to be the perfect place to lay low, or is it? Now Boom Comics has had a lot of their titles picked up an option in the past, and this one here sounds like it'll lend itself very well to the big screen. So in our opinion, this here is a great spec. Grab this one here for a spec if you can. If you can't, then put it in your B-list, but definitely keep an eye on this one. So there you have the 10 titles we have for you guys this week. Definitely some books in there worth picking up for your collection. So please feel free to drop some comments in the comment section below. Thumbs up if you like this video. And as always, please remember to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you for joining us here at Surf Fact Collectibles, and we'll see you again next time.